Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope y'all are doing great. Today we're covering the Tier 1 of this ultimate unsolved mysteries iceberg. As you can probably tell, if Tier 1 is already this long, then the whole iceberg is definitely the content creator's nightmare. This massive iceberg has 1,000 entries in total, and each tier has a little over 100 entries. Also, just in case you're not familiar with what unsolved mysteries are, they are basically things like unexplained disappearances, unsolved true crimes, and just anything that's not understood and is considered a baffling phenomena. So grab a drink, your favorite snacks or some popcorn, get comfy, and let's jump right into the world of the unsolved mysteries. On September 29, 2016, a tragic train accident occurred at Hoboken Terminal in New Jersey, resulting in over 100 injuries and one fatality. The train operator, Thomas Gallagher, was among the injured. Despite feeling well rested, he had no memory of the events leading up to or during the crash. Agencies such as the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, were involved in the investigation. Interestingly, just 2 days before the crash, a strange warning appeared on television screens in New York, only a short train ride from New Jersey. The warning mentioned hazardous materials and the date of September 29th, ending with the cryptic question, could you on a train? This odd broadcast has fueled numerous conspiracy theories. In November of the same year, Thomas Gallagher's attorney revealed that Thomas had undiagnosed sleep apnea, which contradicted his earlier statement about feeling rested. Despite New Jersey Transit having a sleep apnea screening program, Thomas was cleared to work after an exam in July, 2 months before the accident. This raises the possibility that his condition developed later. The NTSB released findings from the train's black boxes in October, revealing that 38 seconds before the crash, Thomas accelerated from 8 miles per hour to 21 miles per hour, which was twice the speed limit. Additionally, he attempted to use the emergency brake less than a second before impact, but it was too late. The automatic emergency brake system was also found to be faulty and did not engage properly. Many find it hard to believe that an experienced operator like Thomas, with nearly 2 decades of service, would forget to use the emergency brake. This has led to suspicions that the brake system was tampered with. Despite being dismissed from his position after the accident, reports suggest Thomas was rehired in 2019. Opinions are divided, with some believing the warning was a mere coincidence, possibly due to a hacker, while others suspect Thomas was part of a clandestine group or was incentivized to cause the crash. Oumuamua was first spotted in October 2017 by Canadian physicist and astronomer Robert Weryk using the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii. This mysterious object, estimated to be around 2,000 feet long and 400 feet wide, has captured the interest of scientists worldwide. Despite its small size by space standards, what makes it truly unique is that it is the first known interstellar object to pass through our solar system. While many astronomers believe it to be an exotic comet or asteroid, some speculate that it could be an abandoned alien spacecraft. It's important to note that the images circulating are not actual photographs, but artist renderings, as we do not know what it looks like up close. The 2001 Anthrax Attacks began on September 18, 2001, just 1 week after the 9/11 attacks, and spanned several months. According to the FBI, this incident was one of the most complex and largest cases in law enforcement history. Letters containing anthrax spores were mailed to various news media offices and several Democratic senators, resulting in the deaths of 5 people and the infection of over 20 others. Anthrax, a rare bacterial illness caused by a spore-forming bacterium, typically affects animals but can also infect humans. Inhalation of anthrax spores is particularly dangerous and difficult to treat. Robert Stevens, the first known victim of the attacks, worked at the Sun tabloid. After coming into contact with one of the letters, he began vomiting and experiencing shortness of breath. He was hospitalized in Florida and passed away 4 days later. Notably, the letter Robert encountered was never recovered. As the investigation progressed, the perpetrator changed the presentation of the anthrax. Initially, a letter discovered at the New York Post contained anthrax in a clumped ball of brown granular material resembling dog food. Later, the anthrax was refined into a highly potent powder of nearly pure spores, making inhalation the most dangerous form of infection. Several suspects emerged during the investigation, including Bruce Edwards Ivins, a scientist at the government's biodefense labs in Frederick, Maryland. Ivins only became a suspect in 2005, and by 2007 he was under surveillance and labeled as an extremely sensitive suspect by the FBI. In July 2008, Ivins died by suicide through a Tylenol overdose. A month later, federal prosecutors declared Ivins the sole perpetrator, based on DNA evidence linking an anthrax vial in his lab to the attacks. They concluded that Ivins had created the anthrax powders using readily available laboratory equipment. In 2010, the FBI formally closed the investigation. At first glance, it appeared that Ivins was responsible for the attacks. However, in 2008, the FBI requested a review of the scientific methods used in their investigation. The report, released in 2011, cast doubt on the conclusion that Ivins was the perpetrator. It stated there was insufficient evidence to confirm that the anthrax in the letters originated from Ivins' lab. Moreover, at least 10 other scientists regularly accessed the lab with the anthrax stock, and over 400 people at the Fort Detrick lab in Maryland had access to the lab. Although the FBI formally concluded that Ivins was the culprit, significant evidence suggests he may have been innocent, or at least not the sole individual responsible. The clown sightings of 2016 were undoubtedly one of the strangest phenomena of that year. Reports emerged of people dressed as sinister clowns appearing in unusual places such as forests, schools, and playgrounds. This bizarre trend wasn't confined to the US. Similar reports came from Canada and the UK, though the majority occurred in the US. The initial clown sighting that sparked this phenomenon was actually a marketing stunt for a horror film being shot in Wisconsin. Despite this, the sightings quickly escalated as others began donning clown costumes and, in some instances, attacking people in nearly every state in the US. The power of social media amplified the impact, with many individuals attempting to go viral and gain notoriety by participating in the clown craze. While dressing up as a clown and wandering in public wasn't a new concept, it reached unprecedented levels in 2016. Due to the chaotic nature of the event, it was extremely challenging to identify and apprehend those who took the prank too far. In 2019, a doorbell camera captured a disturbing incident involving a woman's screams, and the clip quickly went viral. The footage was taken around 11:30 p.m. in the southwest area of Los Angeles. A vehicle is seen, and a suspected male is forcing an African-American female into the front passenger seat. A witness reported seeing the suspect pulling the unidentified woman by her dark, braided hair as she screamed. Additionally, the front passenger side window of the vehicle was covered in plastic wrap. The car was identified as a white Toyota Matrix, though the exact year of the model remains unknown. Police have stated that they are uncertain whether this was a kidnapping or a domestic incident. They have ruled out the possibility of it being a hoax, as no evidence suggests it. Some speculated that it might have been a marketing stunt for a movie, but no one has come forward to claim responsibility, making it unlikely that this was an attempt to gain notoriety. Unfortunately, there is limited information available about this incident, and further details have not emerged. This entry refers to this enigmatic website, and honestly, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I won't even try. The site has been around for quite some time and even has its own subreddit, though this community has been inactive for several years. When you first visit the site, you're met with an eerie ambiance. Clicking around, you eventually stumble upon hidden links that lead you deeper into the unsettling content. These hidden links can be almost anything, a tiny corner of an image or a random letter amidst a sea of words. It's estimated that the website contains over 1,000 pages and links, each leading to new cryptic imagery. The website goes beyond cryptic text and pictures. It includes various math problems, many of which are convoluted and revolve around the number 9. If you delve deep enough, you'll discover an active forum. Some internet sleuths have noted that the forum members can be condescending to new visitors. This behavior has sparked speculation about whether the website could be a secret cult, or if it's just a far-fetched guess. The domain owner is David Dennison, an artist based in the UK. His older works reveal a penchant for surrealism. With this information, it's possible that the website is simply an elaborate art project. The subreddit A858 started over a decade ago and got a lot of attention because it posted long strings of random letters and numbers, which people thought were secret codes. This mystery attracted code breakers and curious internet users who tried to figure it out. In 2016, someone claiming to be part of the original project announced that it had ended, and solving the codes would be impossible due to a lack of information. They later revealed that the posts were part of a job to create code puzzles, but the true purpose was never explained. Some believe the A858 project was meant to find and recruit talented cryptographers or cybersecurity experts. Despite the subreddit being set to private and no new information coming out, the mystery of A858 still fascinates many people. The concept of the afterlife is a topic that has intrigued people for ages, whether they are religious or not. It's a realm where many believe we go after death. Despite its widespread consideration, it's impossible to know for certain what happens once we pass away. In 2008, the University of Southampton conducted a large-scale study involving over 2,000 patients from 15 hospitals across the UK, the US, and Austria. This study aimed to explore the phenomenon of near-death experiences. It found that during near-death situations, patients often retained a perception of awareness, where they could somewhat recall their experiences of death. Structured interviews revealed that 39% of surviving patients reported this sense of awareness. However, most couldn't remember specific events during their near-death experiences. Dr. Parnia, an honorary researcher, suggested that while more people might initially experience mental activity, they may lose these memories after recovery due to brain injury or the effects of sedative drugs. Among those who reported a perception of awareness, 46% described a wide range of recollections related to death, which did not align with the conventional definition of a near-death experience. Notably, only 2% exhibited full awareness with explicit recall of seeing and hearing during their near-death state. While these findings are intriguing, they should be taken with a grain of salt. The study's results offer a glimpse into the mysterious realm of near-death experiences and the possible continuation of awareness after death. Albert Johnson, known as the Mad Trapper of Rat River, became the subject of an extensive manhunt in Canada, culminating in a shootout that left Johnson fatally wounded. It's important to note that Albert Johnson was an alias, and his real identity remains unknown, which is why he features in the Iceberg. Johnson's troubles with the law began when native trappers reported him for sabotaging their traps. He would trigger the traps, then either destroy them or hang them in trees. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, embarked on a 60-mile journey into the snowy wilderness along the Rat River to question Johnson at his cabin. They made this trip multiple times. On their first visit, Johnson refused to communicate. When Constable Alfred King peeked through the cabin window, Johnson obscured it with a bag. The two constables left to obtain a search warrant, returning 5 days later with 2 additional men. Again, Johnson refused to cooperate, prompting King to break down the door. Johnson shot King through the closed door, leading to a brief firefight and the team's retreat. Fortunately, King received timely medical attention and recovered. This entire confrontation originated from a minor trapping violation. Initially, the officers intended to ask Johnson to purchase a trapping license. On their third visit, the RCMP assembled a larger group, including 9 men, numerous dogs, and dynamite. They threw a stick of dynamite onto Johnson's cabin roof, causing it to collapse. Johnson, however, opened fire from a 5-foot dugout beneath the ruins, resulting in a 15-hour standoff. The team eventually retreated once more. Returning to Johnson's cabin a week later, the RCMP found it abandoned. Despite the harsh January winter conditions, they struggled to locate him. Eventually, they found his camp, where Johnson shot an officer through the heart. Despite this, Johnson escaped again. In February, with air support, the RCMP tracked Johnson down. He refused to surrender, opening fire from the snow. The team surrounded him, and during the confrontation, Johnson was fatally wounded by a bullet that severed his spine, preventing any further questioning. When the police searched Johnson's possessions, they found $2,000 in Canadian currency, 5 small pearls, and a bit of gold, none of which provided clues about his true identity. Despite modern theories and DNA testing, Albert Johnson's real identity remains a mystery to this day. Amelia Earhart, born in 1897 in Kansas, is one of the most famous figures in American history, renowned for being the first person to fly solo and non-stop across the entire U.S., as well as the second person to fly solo and non-stop across the Atlantic. However, what makes her story truly perplexing is her mysterious disappearance during a round-the-world flight in 1937. In May 1937, Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, embarked on a journey around the world, starting in California aboard a twin-engine Lockheed Electra. Tragically, in July of that same year, only 2 months into their journey, Earhart and Noonan vanished near Howland Island. Rescue parties were dispatched, but neither Fred nor Amelia were found. From 2019 to 2021, several plane wreckages were discovered underwater, but none could be conclusively identified as Earhart's Electra, a popular aircraft at the time. Several theories attempt to explain what happened to Earhart and Noonan. The crash and sink theory posits that their plane simply ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean, being swallowed by the sea. This theory suggests they were aiming to land on Howland Island, but ran out of fuel before they could reach it. Alternatively, some speculate that Earhart was shot down or captured by Japanese military forces. Critics of this theory argue that the Marshall Islands, controlled by Japan, were far from Howland Island, requiring a significant deviation from their flight path. Another theory suggests that Earhart and Noonan landed on Nikumoro Island, formerly Gardner Island, where they survived for a short period before succumbing to dehydration and starvation. This theory is bolstered by rumors of bones found on the island, believed by some to belong to Earhart. While Earhart's story is well known in the U.S., it may be less familiar to international audiences or those needing a refresher. Despite numerous theories and ongoing interest, the true fate of Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan remains a mystery to this day. Amy Lynn Bradley, an American woman, went missing during a Caribbean cruise in 1998. One night, Amy and her brother Brad visited the ship's nightclub before returning to their cabin. Brad entered their cabin around 3:35 a.m., followed by Amy 5 minutes later. At about 6 a.m., Amy's father woke up to check on her and discovered she was missing from her room. He immediately began searching and notified the crew, who involved the Coast Guard. They conducted a 4-day search in the surrounding waters, suspecting she may have fallen overboard and drowned. However, many investigators dismissed this theory, as Amy was known to be a proficient swimmer. The crew scoured the ship, making multiple announcements for Amy to report to the staff, but to no avail. The Coast Guard deployed 3 additional helicopters to assist, yet they still failed to find Amy. One theory suggests that Amy was kidnapped and sold into the Caribbean trafficking industry. This is somewhat supported by reported sightings of a woman resembling Amy in a Caribbean brothel. Multiple residents and Navy officers reported seeing a woman strikingly similar to Amy. Some speculate that the ship's staff played a role in her disappearance, noting that a waiter persistently approached Amy's family throughout the night, asking them to pass on a note inviting her for a drink. Earlier, I mentioned that Amy's father checked on her at 6 a.m., but he also checked on her around 5:30 a.m. At that time, she was still sleeping. This means that whoever took Amy, if she was indeed abducted, had a 30-minute window to do so. It's known that the crew has logs of when cabin doors open, suggesting a possible crew involvement in her disappearance. Another theory posits that Amy took her life by stepping off the balcony. As time passes in missing persons cases, the likelihood of survival diminishes. Despite extensive searches and numerous theories, Amy Lynn Bradley's fate remains a mystery. Angel hair, also known as silicious cotton, is a sticky, fibrous substance that resembles a spider web. In a small town in France, an unusual event occurred one day when something mysterious appeared in the sky. Many residents claimed it was a UFO. As this object hovered, it began emitting a strange web-like material. Extraterrestrial enthusiasts suggested that this substance resulted from ionized air interacting with an electromagnetic field around the UFO. However, skeptics proposed more earthly explanations. The most plausible theory is that the substance was indeed spiderweb, and what the townspeople saw was not a UFO, but a colony of migrating spiders. Spiders are capable of flying, or more accurately, slowly descending by raising their abdomens to release silk strands, allowing them to float away. Certain spider species live and migrate in groups, making it likely that the mysterious material came from a group of spiders. This phenomenon isn't unheard of. In England and other parts of the Northern Hemisphere, dwarf spiders frequently cause showers of silk threads. Despite this rational explanation, some people remain convinced that the substance had extraterrestrial origins. The Axeman of New Orleans was a serial killer who terrorized Louisiana from May 1918 to late 1919. To this day, the identity of the murderer remains unknown. The Axeman primarily targeted Italian Americans and Italian immigrants, focusing especially on females. It is believed that women were his main targets, and he only killed men if they obstructed his intended victim. True to his name, the Axeman used an axe to murder his victims while they slept, often using the very axes he found in their homes. After committing his crimes, the Axeman never stole anything, suggesting he was a sadist who took pleasure in killing. As with many obscure serial killers, there are few credible theories regarding the Axeman's identity, especially given the age of the case. One theory posited that the Axeman was Joseph Mumfree, who was allegedly shot to death in Los Angeles in 1920 by the widow of Mike Pepitone, one of the Axeman's victims. However, this theory was undermined when true crime writer Michael Newton failed to find any records of a Joseph Mumfree being killed in LA courtrooms. Another theory speculates that the Axeman had ties to the mafia, which helped him evade capture. Despite various theories, it is nearly impossible for us to definitively determine the identity of the Axeman today. Ball lightning, an elusive and puzzling phenomenon, manifests as glowing spheres ranging from the size of a pea to several meters across. Unlike the brief flash of typical lightning, these luminous orbs can persist for much longer during thunderstorms. Eventually, they burst, often releasing a sulfur-like smell. Observations of ball lightning are varied. Witnesses commonly describe erratic, unpredictable movements, darting sideways, ascending and descending. Some accounts claim these orbs can push objects, while others highlight their destructive nature, burning through barriers without stopping. Despite extensive studies, the exact nature of ball lightning remains a mystery. One intriguing theory suggests that it involves vaporized silicon undergoing oxidation. When lightning strikes the ground, it vaporizes silica, separating oxygen from silicon dioxide and creating pure silicon vapor. As this vapor cools, it forms a glowing aerosol, which recombines with oxygen to produce the distinctive glowing effect. The Baltic Sea anomaly is a peculiar structure located beneath the Baltic Sea, first uncovered by Peter Lindbergh and his Swedish Ocean X diving team in 2011. The detailed features of the anomaly, such as its strange stair-like formations, appear too precise to be naturally occurring, prompting Lindbergh to suggest it might have been built tens of thousands of years ago, before the Ice Age. Despite entertaining the idea of an ancient construction, Lindbergh also considers the possibility that it could be a bizarre natural formation, potentially caused by a meteor striking an iceberg during the Ice Age. Some speculate that the anomaly might be remnants of a civilization similar to Atlantis. A more grounded theory suggests that the structure could be a glacial basin. To investigate further, divers provided stone samples from the site to an associate geology professor at Stockholm University, who identified them as potentially volcanic rock. While this is unusual, finding hardened lava under the Baltic Sea is not entirely unprecedented. The Battle of Los Angeles refers to a supposed attack on the U.S. by Imperial Japan in 1942. This incident happened just 3 months after the U.S. entered World War II. Initially, people thought the Japanese were behind the attack, but Frank Knox, the Secretary of the Navy at the time, called it a false alarm. Newspapers went wild with this story, and many speculated it was a cover-up. The U.S. Coast Artillery Association spotted a meteorological balloon around 1 a.m., which they believed triggered the whole event. The military started shooting at it, and once the firing began, everyone thought they saw targets in the sky and joined in. In 1983, the U.S. Office of Air Force History said it was a case of war nerves. People were on edge because of the war and paranoid about potential attacks on California. The warning of a possible attack on California only added to the chaos, with flashing lights and flares everywhere. When some people started shooting at the balloon, thinking it was an enemy plane, others quickly joined without really checking what they were aiming at. After World War II, the Japanese government said they hadn't flown any aircraft over Los Angeles during the war. This led the U.S. to conclude it was a balloon that caused the initial scare. Despite this, many people still believe it was a cover-up for an alien encounter. Some point to an image they claim shows a UFO being targeted, though it was later revealed to have been heavily edited before being published in newspapers. So, was it really aliens and a government cover-up, or just a paranoid shootout over a balloon? The Beast of Bodmin Moor is one of the UK's most enduring mysteries. First reported in 1978, this elusive creature has been described as a large, black, panther-like cat, prowling the rugged landscapes of Bodmin Moor in Cornwall. Locals have reported eerie sightings and terrifying encounters, with many finding mutilated livestock, suggesting a powerful predator at work. Theories about the beast's origin range from escaped exotic pets to a surviving population of British big cats. Despite numerous investigations, including a government study in 1995, which found no verifiable evidence of a big cat, the legend persists. Plate tectonics is a theory that explains the structure of Earth's crust and the formation of oceans. If these plates didn't collide, our planet would look very different. The big mystery, though, is figuring out how and when this process started on Earth. As far as we know, plate tectonics only happens here and nowhere else in our solar system. Tracing the origin of this process is tough because the movement of these plates destroys old ones as new crust is formed. This cycle of creating new crust and destroying old crust in subduction zones occurs all over the planet. The observable universe is a spherical region of the entire cosmos, containing all matter visible from Earth. But what lies beyond this region? To answer that, we need some background on the universe's age. From its inception, the universe has been expanding at an increasing rate. Scientists estimate its age to be around 13.8 billion years. The oldest observable photons have traveled approximately 45 billion light-years since the Big Bang, suggesting the observable universe is about 90 billion light-years in diameter. This vast expanse includes everything: planets, stars, black holes, and more. So how do we get past the edge of the universe? Theoretical solutions include creating a time machine or transcending space-time using a wormhole, both of which most physicists deem impossible. Thus, whatever you imagine lies beyond the observable universe, you could be as correct or as mistaken as anyone else. The Black Dahlia mystery centers on the brutal and unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress in Los Angeles. On January 15, 1947, her body was found in Leimert Park, cut in half at the waist and horrifically mutilated. The case quickly became a media sensation, with the press dubbing her the Black Dahlia due to her dark hair and wardrobe. Despite numerous leads, false confessions, and a lengthy investigation, the murderer was never identified. Theories about the killer range from a jealous lover to a serial killer, and the case remains one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history. The Black-Eyed Children are an urban legend that many people view with skepticism, often dismissing it as a hoax. Others believe these children are paranormal entities. As their name implies, these children have black eyes and pale skin. They are typically described as being between 6 and 16 years old and are often seen hitchhiking, begging, or standing in the distance. Most sources trace the origin of the legend to postings from 1996 by a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel. Bethel claimed to have encountered two of these children, and another person in Portland, Oregon, reported a similar experience. Ludwig Boltzmann, a pivotal physicist of the 19th century, proposed a fascinating yet mind-bending idea: Boltzmann brains. These are hypothetical, self-aware entities emerging from random chaos. Boltzmann theorized that the creation of a life-sustaining universe like ours requires an extremely unlikely entropy shift. Despite its improbability, it's possible, hence our existence. However, Boltzmann suggested that forming a brain capable of imagining an entire universe demands a far less significant entropy shift. This implies that imagined universes, or Boltzmann brains, are vastly more common than actual universes. Consequently, it becomes almost certain that our reality is merely an illusion, a product of a Boltzmann brain. Here's where it gets even trickier. If our universe is just a figment of some brain's imagination, we can't ascertain whether the physical laws of this imagined universe apply to the universe where the brain originated. This thought leads to an endless spiral of questions and paradoxes. Essentially, Boltzmann's argument challenges the very nature of our existence, suggesting we might not exist in a tangible universe at all. The Boy in the Box is a chilling true crime case from 1957. In Philadelphia, the body of a young boy was discovered inside a box by a river, and after extensive investigations, his identity was known, but the murder still remains unsolved. No local children were reported missing, and orphanages did not have any unaccounted for, which has led to speculations about foul play. Theories range from an orphanage cover-up to other dark possibilities, but the mystery of how a child could go unnoticed and unclaimed persists to this day. William Bradford Bishop Jr., a former U.S. service officer, has been on the run since 1976 after brutally killing his wife, mother, and 3 sons. If alive today, he would be about 86 years old. Initially added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, Bishop was removed in 2018 to prioritize a more dangerous fugitive. On March 1, 1976, upon learning he wouldn't receive a job promotion, Bishop feigned illness to leave work early. He then withdrew several $100s from the bank and bought a sledgehammer, shovel, pitchfork, gas can, and gasoline. Returning home between 7 and 8 p.m., police believe he first killed his wife, followed by his mother who had just walked the family dog, and finally his 3 sons aged 5, 10, and 14. Bishop then transported the bodies 275 miles to a remote swamp, where he dug a shallow grave, placed the bodies inside, set them on fire, and left the scene with the tools he had purchased. On March 18th, his abandoned car was discovered at a campsite in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee. Inside, police found dog biscuits, a shotgun, a bloody blanket, and an axe. It's believed Bishop joined the Appalachian Trail hikers, but efforts to track him with bloodhounds failed. Bishop was reportedly under significant marital and financial stress. Co-workers noted his dissatisfaction with his job and his desire to work abroad, a plan his wife opposed due to her new university classes, which Bishop had urged her not to pursue. Over the years, there have been reported sightings of Bishop not only in the U.S., but also in countries like Italy. In 2014, the body of an unidentified man resembling Bishop was found, but DNA tests ruled him out, leading to false leads in Hong Kong and France. In 2021, a woman who had been adopted claimed to be Bishop's biological daughter. DNA tests confirmed her claim, but this new information did not help in finding Bishop. Today, William Bradford Bishop Jr. is presumed either dead or living quietly to avoid arrest, blending into society to escape detection. Brandon Lee, the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was an actor who tragically died in 1993 while filming the movie The Crow. During a stunt, a prop gun loaded with blanks malfunctioned. Initially, a blank round got lodged in the barrel. When the gun was fired again, the second blank propelled the jammed cartridge forward, fatally striking Lee. There is some controversy regarding the details. Some claim the gun had real bullets, while others support the malfunction narrative. It's important to note that blanks, while lacking bullets, can still be deadly, and film set accidents involving blanks are not unheard of. Regardless of the specifics, Brandon Lee died in the hospital the same day. His death, being part of a movie scene, was recorded on camera. Reports state that the film and camera were destroyed out of respect, rendering it a piece of lost media. However, some cameramen dispute this, with one even claiming to possess a copy. Despite these claims, no footage or authentic photos of the incident have surfaced, leading many to hope that these claims are false out of respect for Brandon Lee. Brian Shaffer, a medical student at Ohio State University, vanished mysteriously on the night of March 31st, 2006. Celebrating the start of spring break with friends, Shaffer was last seen talking to two women around 2 a.m. on security footage. After this conversation, he entered the Ugly Tuna Saloon bar, which was closing up for the night. Strangely, there is no evidence that Shaffer ever left the bar, and the bar's vicinity had no exits, leaving both authorities and the public baffled. Attempts by Brian's friends and family to contact him by phone went unanswered. By Monday, he was officially reported missing. Despite the high crime rate in Columbus, Ohio, and the numerous security cameras in place at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, none provided any clues as to Brian's whereabouts. After meticulously reviewing the footage, police expanded their search to the surrounding area, even exploring the sewer system, but found nothing. Authorities asked everyone who interacted with Brian that night to take lie detector tests. All complied except for one friend, Clint, who refused, arousing suspicion. Tragedy struck again in September 2008, when Brian's father, Randy Shaffer, died after being hit by a falling tree branch. A condolence message supposedly from Brian appeared in Randy's online obituary guest book, but it was revealed to be a cruel hoax. With no new leads, speculation abounds. Some believe Brian Shaffer may have left the U.S. to start a new life, while others think he may have met a tragic end. The mystery of his disappearance remains unsolved. The Brown Mountain Lights refer to a series of mysterious ghost lights reported sporadically over the years in North Carolina's Brown Mountain area. Thousands of witnesses have claimed to see these lights, with sightings dating back to the Civil War era. The phenomenon has piqued public interest to such an extent that the government has conducted 3 separate investigations. Additionally, university students and private groups have undertaken numerous studies. The lights were even featured in a 1999 episode of The X-Files. In 1922, a hotel owner commissioned a private group to investigate the lights. This group concluded that the lights were merely distant electric or train lights. However, this conclusion was met with skepticism, and many questioned the methods used in the investigation. The hotel owner accepted this explanation and refrained from further comments on the matter. Various other theories have been proposed, including suggestions that the lights are manifestations of Civil War ghosts or UFOs moving in the distance. While these theories lack solid evidence, the Brown Mountain Lights continue to captivate those interested in the paranormal and extraterrestrial. The Beatles' Carnival of Light is an unreleased avant-garde track known to be nearly 14 minutes long, featuring distorted echoes and sounds from percussion, keyboards, guitar, and vocals. Commissioned for the million-volt light and sound rave at the Roundhouse in London in early 1967, the piece was played at the event, but has rarely been heard since. Paul McCartney has tried to release Carnival of Light to the public, aiming to be recognized as the first Beatle to delve into avant-garde music. However, John Lennon released Revolution 9 before McCartney could make his track public. In 1996, McCartney wanted to include Carnival of Light in the Beatles' Anthology 2 compilation, but his bandmates vetoed its inclusion, arguing it was never meant to be a Beatles release and preferred to keep it private. McCartney revealed in 2008 that he still possesses the tape and expressed intentions in 2016 to release it eventually. As of now, Carnival of Light remains unreleased and a piece of lost media. In 2017, Donald Trump posted a tweet with the misspelled word "covfefe," which quickly transformed into a meme. Media outlets largely speculated that Trump intended to write "coverage." The following day, Trump deleted the tweet, leading to widespread conjecture that he had done so on purpose. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer claimed that only the president and a select few understood its true meaning. After removing the original tweet, Trump posted another one asking, "Who can figure out the true meaning of Kofefe?" This sparked a flurry of activity as both critics and supporters of Trump took to Google, attempting to uncover the word's meaning. Despite these efforts, no one has managed to decipher it. While many dismiss it as a simple typo turned viral sensation, there are whispers among some White House staff that Kofefe might actually hold a hidden significance. Cut Off My Feet refers to the strange story of Paul Freck Morgan, a man who planned to amputate his own feet live on video. Back in 1986, Morgan endured a severe spinal injury when he fell from a car and was subsequently run over by the boat it was towing. Following numerous surgeries, Morgan regained his ability to walk but remained without sensation from the ankles down. By 2001, advancements in medical technology made prosthetics a viable option for him, but his insurance refused to cover the procedure, and he couldn't afford it on his own. Faced with this dilemma, Morgan resolved to amputate his feet himself during a live-streamed event. He constructed a homemade guillotine and intended to charge viewers $20 to watch. Despite his financial struggles, Morgan managed to hire a film crew and even a band for the event. However, radio personality Howard Stern caught wind of Morgan's plans and alerted the authorities, which led to the event being stopped. Morgan's website, which announced the live stream, has not been updated since, leaving the story's conclusion a mystery. Some speculate that the entire ordeal was a scam to make quick money. But whatever the case, Paul Morgan has disappeared from the internet, and the true end to this odd tale remains unknown. D.B. Cooper is the alias of an unknown man who hijacked a Boeing 727 aircraft on the night before Thanksgiving in 1971. Using cash, Cooper bought a ticket for a flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, signing the ticket as Dan Cooper. He boarded the plane with a briefcase and a brown paper bag, taking a seat in the last row and ordering a drink. When the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner, brought his drink, he handed her a note. Initially dismissing it as just a lonely man's phone number, she put it in her purse. Florence then read the note, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase and want you to sit by me." She sat next to him and asked to see the bomb, which he revealed to her. 8 red cylinders attached to a large battery. Cooper then gave her another note, demanding $200,000, 2 front parachutes, and 2 back parachutes. Florence communicated his demands to the captain and crew. As the plane neared Seattle, Cooper initially told them not to land, but later allowed them to touch down to collect the ransom and parachutes in exchange for releasing the passengers. Once all passengers were safely off, only the crew of 6 and Cooper remained on board. He received the money and parachutes, but had to improvise, as the money wasn't delivered in a knapsack as he requested. Cooper cut the canopy off one of the parachutes to create a makeshift bag for the money. After about an hour, the plane took off again, now tailed by 3 aircraft maintaining specific patterns to stay out of Cooper's sight. He instructed flight attendant Tina Mucklow to lower the staircase, but she asked for a cord to tie herself down out of fear of being sucked out. Annoyed, Cooper told her to go to the cockpit and he would lower the stairs himself. At around 8 p.m., a warning light indicated the stairs were lowered. The captain asked if Cooper needed help, to which he replied, "No," and then jumped out of the plane, vanishing without a trace. To this day, theories about D.B. Cooper abound. One theory involves Robert Rackstraw, a retired pilot and ex-convict who died in 2019 and served in the Vietnam War. Rackstraw became a suspect in 1978 and again around 2017. Thomas Colbert, an author of a D.B. Cooper book, found a decades-old parachute strap in the Pacific Northwest and claimed to have received a confession letter from 1971 with codes matching units Rackstraw was associated with in the military. However, flight attendants stated that Rackstraw did not resemble Cooper, and Rackstraw's attorney dismissed Colbert's claims as absurd. With most suspects eventually ruled out, the mystery of D.B. Cooper remains unsolved, and we may never uncover his true identity. In 1518, Strasbourg, Alsace witnessed a bizarre phenomenon known as the Dancing Plague, where between 50 and 400 people danced uncontrollably from July to September. This strange episode began when a woman started dancing feverishly on a street in Strasbourg, and over time it spread to hundreds of others. Medical professionals of the era were baffled by the cause of this collective dancing mania. Historical records suggest that around 15 people died each day from exhaustion because they couldn't stop dancing. While this sounds almost unbelievable, there are a few theories that attempt to explain it. One theory posits that the dancing was triggered by food poisoning. Certain fungi found in food could produce toxic and psychoactive substances similar to LSD-25. However, some scientists argue against this, stating that these chemicals wouldn't have been potent enough to make people dance continuously for days, and reactions to such toxins would vary among individuals. Another theory is mass psychogenic illness, where a group of people begins to exhibit similar symptoms due to collective hysteria, even though there's no underlying disease causing these symptoms. Dark energy is a mysterious force responsible for accelerating the universe's expansion by pushing everything apart. In the 20th century, astronomers discovered the universe's expansion and theorized it might continue indefinitely or eventually reverse, leading to a big crunch where the universe collapses in on itself. However, in the 21st century, astronomers have found that the expansion rate isn't consistent. It has accelerated significantly over millions of years. The nature of dark energy remains elusive, and if this acceleration doesn't cease, it could result in a catastrophic event known as the Big Rip. While the Big Crunch suggests a collapsing universe, the Big Rip envisions a scenario where the universe tears itself apart if dark energy's influence grows too strong. Either outcome would mean the end of the universe, and currently, there is no known way to prevent these events. In contrast to dark energy, dark matter exerts a gravitational pull, drawing galaxies together. Experts estimate that dark matter constitutes about 85% of the universe's matter. Like dark energy, dark matter is invisible and has not been directly observed, leading to uncertainty about its existence. However, scientists hypothesize that dark matter could consist of an undiscovered type of elementary particle. The Delphi murders refer to the tragic deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, whose bodies were found near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Indiana. The case garnered significant media attention because of a video and audio recording of a person believed to be the murderer. 13-year-old Abigail and 14-year-old Liberty were dropped off for a hike by Liberty's sister, Kelsey. About 30 minutes into their hike, Liberty posted a photo online of Abby walking on the bridge, marking the last time anyone heard from them. The girls were expected to meet Liberty's father at 3:15 p.m., but when they didn't show up, he began searching the trail himself. He later called more family members for help before contacting the police. Initially, the police did not suspect foul play, but the next day around noon, they found the bodies on the north bank of Deer Creek. The authorities have withheld details about the cause of death. On February 15th, police released a sketch of a Caucasian male seen near the bridge around the time of the murders. A week later, on February 22nd, they shared an audio recording in which the suspect is heard saying, "Down the hill." Along with the audio, a photograph was released showing a man in the background wearing a blue jacket with his hands in his pockets. The small town of Delphi, Indiana, has been fervently searching for this individual or anyone who might know his identity. However, 5 years on, the case remains unsolved, and the true perpetrator has not been identified. Devil monkeys, described as large baboon-like primates, have reportedly been seen in the forests around Flagstaff, Arizona. Witnesses claim these creatures are over 7 feet tall and incredibly fast. At this point, it's hard to take this seriously, but I'll delve a bit further. For comparison, the tallest known monkey, the mandrill, only reaches about 3 to 4 feet in height. Unlike Bigfoot, devil monkeys are said to have faces resembling canines and legs similar to those of a kangaroo. Dr. No, this entry contains some graphic details. Nonetheless, here's a brief content warning. Dr. No is the nickname given to an American serial killer believed to be behind the deaths of at least 9 women and girls in Ohio. Between 1981 and 2004, Dr. No targeted women working in parking lots and truck stops along Interstate 71. Additionally, it's believed Dr. No may have also committed murders in New York, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. The first known victim was a young woman found in Miami County, Ohio, on April 24, 1981. Medical examiners concluded she died from strangulation and had a head injury prior to death. Initially unidentified, she was known as the Buckskin Girl due to the tassel buckskin poncho she was wearing, but in 2018, she was identified as Marcia King. Witnesses described Dr. as a tall, large man with fair skin, glasses, and dark hair, aged between 25 and 40. To find him, police posted flyers at over 130 truck stops, but although 5 individuals were detained, none were charged, and their identities remained confidential. While many bodies were devoid of the killer's DNA, some contained foreign bodily fluids. However, police hesitated to use this DNA since the nature of the victim's work suggested it could belong to someone else. Throughout the 90s, 2000s, and even as recently as 2019, several suspects were considered. In 2019, Samuel Legg, 49, was arrested in Arizona and linked to 4 murders in Ohio and Illinois. He was initially arrested for a minor crime in 1997 and suspected of other murders. Although Legg was tied to several Dr. No victims, police remain uncertain if all the murders attributed to Dr. No were his doing, leaving some aspects of the case unresolved. The Elisa Lam case is another widely known incident, even having its own documentary series on Netflix. On February 19, 2013, Canadian tourist Elisa Lam's body was found in a large cistern on top of the Stay on Main Hotel in Los Angeles. She was last seen on January 31st and was reported missing by her parents the next day, as it was unusual for her not to call daily. The case drew significant attention when the LAPD released footage showing Lam behaving erratically in a hotel elevator, marking the last time she was seen alive. An autopsy conducted on February 21st did not clarify the exact cause of her death, leading to it being ruled an accident with bipolar disorder as a significant factor. Hotel staff described Elisa Lam as lively, friendly, and outgoing. When she was first reported missing, police searched her room and used dogs to comb the entire building for her scent, even going up to the rooftop, but they found no trace of her. Over the next few days, numerous hotel guests complained about low water pressure, and some noted the water was black and had a strange taste. On February 19th, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez checked the cistern to investigate the water issue and discovered Elisa Lam's lifeless body floating face up. Her body showed no signs of physical trauma or assault. Toxicology reports only found traces of her prescription medication and ibuprofen, with no drugs that could explain her unusual elevator behavior. Many theories have emerged about what happened to Lam on the day she disappeared, but no definitive cause of death has been established. Most theories suggest she had a psychotic episode, considering her bipolar disorder. Some skeptics propose that Elisa was playing the elevator game, a supposed ritual that allegedly transports individuals to another dimension, but this theory is generally dismissed as a mere creepypasta. The elevator game involves entering a specific sequence of floor buttons in a building with at least 10 floors, leading to the 5th floor where a mysterious woman appears, whom the player must ignore. Pressing the first floor button again, if the elevator ascends to the 10th floor, supposedly means the ritual succeeded. Among the various theories about Lam's death, the most plausible one seems to be related to a psychotic episode. Frank Shaw's gargoyle. In 1986, NASA employee Frank Shaw reportedly encountered a bizarre creature, later known as Frank Shaw's gargoyle. Frank shared the details only with his daughter, Desiree, who contacted author Nick Redfern in 2004 to recount the sighting. Frank, who often worked late, was heading to his car when he saw a ghastly black gargoyle-like figure perched on the edge of a Space Center building. The figure appeared humanoid, with a cape-like drape over its shoulders, which Frank later realized were wings resembling wrinkly flesh. This sighting is similar to accounts of the Mothman and the Owlman of Cornwall, both known to elicit irrational fear. While this may seem like another made-up cryptid story, there's more. Frank reported the sighting to NASA, and instead of dismissing him, they interviewed him extensively. According to Desiree, NASA flew in security from Arizona, who advised the family to keep the sighting secret, possibly explaining Desiree's long silence. Additionally, NASA had a secret file on a similar creature linked to the gruesome deaths of 2 German shepherds found mutilated near the sighting area. Though the story seems far-fetched, it remains an entertaining tale. Ghost camels in the American Southwest. In 1848, Quartermaster Major Henry Wayne proposed to the War Department the idea of importing camels to the American Southwest to aid the military. Camels were believed to be superior to horses and mules for transporting supplies due to their ability to carry at least twice the weight and travel longer distances without needing water or rest. Initially, the proposal was turned down, but in 1854, senators finally agreed to bring about 70 camels to the U.S. The use of these camels was short-lived, however, as soldiers quickly discovered that camels were unpleasant to be around, often scared away horses, and tended to wander off in the middle of the night. Eventually, the camels were auctioned off or released into the desert. In 1883, a woman was found trampled to death with clumps of red fur on her body. This incident led to multiple sightings of camels roaming around Arizona. The camel that trampled the woman was dubbed the Red Ghost and became part of local lore. According to rumors, the Red Ghost was carrying a dead rider. In one account, a group of prospectors reported seeing the Red Ghost and something fell from it. Upon investigation, they found it was a skull, leading to the belief that this camel was carrying a headless corpse. In 1893, a farmer shot and killed a large camel, believed to be the Red Ghost. However, no corpse or skeleton was found attached to the camel, only a saddle. Many people believe in the story of the Red Ghost and its headless rider. If the story were true, it raises the question, who was this mysterious person, and where did the corpse end up? Ghosts. Everyone is familiar with the concept of ghosts. Despite the lack of concrete evidence for their existence, ghosts have inspired a dedicated community of paranormal enthusiasts, constantly seeking answers. In various religions, ghosts are sometimes viewed as deceptive demons sent to mislead believers. Each culture has its own interpretation of spirits or ghosts, often seen as souls trapped and unable to move on to a peaceful afterlife. Girl from the Maine. This nickname refers to an unidentified teenage girl found in the Maine River in 2001. The girl was estimated to be around 15 to 16 years old. She was discovered wrapped in a bedsheet and scarves, tied to an umbrella stand to weigh her down in the river. She had been in the water for 12 to 24 hours, but had died up to 3 days before her body was left there. Her death was caused by blunt force trauma, resulting in broken ribs, a ruptured spleen, and punctured lungs. Sadly, her suffering didn't end there. She also had several injuries that had recently healed, such as broken bones, burns, and cauliflower ear. Police believe the girl was originally from Afghanistan or Pakistan, based on her appearance and the scarves found with her. Somehow, she ended up in Germany. This case is one of the more well-known Jane Doe cases in Germany, due to her young age and the severe abuse she endured. She was also likely malnourished, weighing only 80 to 85 pounds, which is about 20 pounds underweight for a girl of her age and height. Investigating this case is challenging due to the lack of DNA or other evidence. It is speculated that she may have arrived in Germany as a servant, possibly within diplomatic circles, complicating the investigation due to potential political immunity. There is also a theory that she might have been part of an arranged marriage, which is common in the Middle East. As seen in the video, two girls appeared to see something that made them shriek in fear. Initially, only one of the girls showed signs of panic, but soon after, the other girl also screamed and ran towards the person recording. When they went to investigate the area where the girls had been looking, they found nothing. This raises the question, what caused the girls to be so scared? Was it truly a ghost? While many believe this was a hoax, the girls' reactions seemed genuine to me. Gloria, who had late-stage cervical cancer, was brought to the emergency room. During her treatment, several hospital workers fainted, while others experienced muscle spasms and shortness of breath. 5 of these workers required hospitalization. Unfortunately, Gloria passed away from kidney failure shortly after her arrival at the hospital. Initially, the incident was attributed to mass hysteria among the hospital staff. However, an investigation by the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory suggested another explanation. It was proposed that Gloria had been self-administering dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, to manage her pain. When she was defibrillated at the hospital, the DMSO could have converted into dimethyl sulfate, a highly toxic substance. Right after the defibrillation, some workers noticed an oily sheen on Gloria's skin and a fruity, garlic-like odor. Nurse Susan Kane, who drew Gloria's blood, reported an ammonia-like smell and saw manila-colored particles in the blood. Susan then felt nauseous and had to leave the room. The media initially framed the incident as mass hysteria, but interviews with 34 hospital workers revealed that they all denied experiencing hysteria, often citing their medical history as evidence. Livermore Labs theorized that the DMSO buildup in Gloria might have caused urinary blockage, leading to kidney failure. The temperature change during blood drawing could have triggered the conversion into dimethyl sulfate. Despite this theory, the scientists at Livermore Labs were not entirely confident, and Gloria's family strongly disputed the idea that DMSO was the cause of her death. The concept of God has been a subject of debate for millennia, with interpretations varying widely across different religions. Despite these differences, God is generally viewed as the creator of all things. Believers often cite unexplainable phenomena as evidence of God's existence. This is, of course, a simplification, as there are numerous arguments supporting belief in God. On the other hand, skeptics point to contradictions in religious texts, or argue that the existence of suffering and pain contradicts the idea of an all-good deity. Most scientists refrain from engaging in debates about God's existence, considering it an unprovable hypothesis. No scientific experiment can definitively prove or disprove the existence of a divine being. Green Boots is the nickname given to an unidentified climber whose body rests in a limestone cave on Mount Everest. Many believe he is Sewang Paljor, an Indian climber who perished in 1996. He earned his nickname from the distinct bright green boots he wore. Over the years, numerous climbers on Everest's north side have encountered his body, though in 2014, it was reported that the body had been relocated. Details on whether it was removed from the mountain or simply moved to another spot atop Everest remain unclear due to the treacherous terrain and extreme weather conditions that make recovery missions challenging and risky. Paljor was part of a team of 6 climbers during the ill-fated Everest disaster of 1996, one of the deadliest seasons in Everest's history. Caught in a severe blizzard, 3 climbers, including Paljor, pressed on for the summit despite the worsening conditions. This decision proved fatal, claiming the lives of 8 climbers in total. The precise identity of Green Boots remains unconfirmed, but given the circumstances, it is speculated that he may be one of the climbers who attempted to summit alongside Paljor in that tragic expedition. The legend of the Green Children of Woolpit centers around 2 siblings in 12th century England who were said to have an unusually greenish skin tone. Discovered speaking an unknown language and subsisting solely on raw beans, their arrival baffled locals. Gradually adjusting to a new diet, they lost their green hue, but tragedy struck when the boy succumbed to illness. The girl, however, adapted, learned English, and recounted they hailed from a land perpetually in shadow, St. Martin's Land. While some embrace this as historical curiosity, skeptics view it as an embellished folktale, possibly inspired by a real but misinterpreted encounter with unfamiliar travelers. Hat Man. Reports abound of individuals awakening in darkness to encounter a looming figure dubbed the Hat Man. This eerie presence, described throughout recorded history, allegedly paralyzes its victims, induces breathlessness, and sometimes applies pressure to their chest. While often linked to sleep paralysis, the question arises, why does this specific figure recur in so many accounts? Some attribute it to our minds distorting familiar cultural elements, blending them with dreams and nightmares. Medical experts suggest influences from characters like Freddy Krueger, whose distinctive appearance, especially his top hat, leaves a lasting impression. Additionally, theories of group psychology propose that shared cultural references may lead individuals to interpret their own nighttime terrors as encounters with the Hat Man, reinforcing a collective belief in this spectral entity. Henry Hudson, a renowned 17th-century English navigator, is best known for his explorations of what is now Canada and parts of northeastern United States. In 1610, funded by the British East India Company and the Virginia Company, Hudson embarked on an expedition aiming to find an ice-free northwest passage to Asia. Initially optimistic about their discovery, believing it to be shorter and obstacle-free, Hudson and his crew spent months mapping and exploring the shores. However, their hopes were dashed when their ship became trapped in James Bay by ice. By spring 1611, as the ice cleared, Hudson planned to continue exploring, but his weary and disgruntled crew mutinied. They cast Hudson and 7 others adrift on a small shallop, abandoning them. Despite their efforts to keep pace with the ship, they were eventually left behind and lost to history. Although one crew member, Prickett, kept a journal documenting Hudson's fate post-mutiny, its reliability has been questioned due to potential bias. While details remain scarce, starvation is presumed to have claimed the lives of Hudson and his men after they were cast adrift. The I-70 killer remains an enigmatic figure in American criminal history, responsible for a series of murders that shook communities along Interstate 70 during the spring of 1992. Targeting store clerks, predominantly young and petite brunette women, this unidentified assailant claimed 6 lives across several states. The spree began with the killing of Robin Fuldauer, the manager of a Payless shoe source in Indianapolis, Indiana, on April 8th. Alone in the store, Robin was fatally shot, and the killer fled with a meager sum from the cash register. Shortly after, on April 11th, the killer struck again at a bridal shop in Wichita, Kansas, where Patricia Smith and Patricia Majors were murdered after keeping the store open late. This marked the only instance where multiple victims were targeted in a single location. The killer's method, shooting each victim in the back of the head, was consistent across all incidents, despite minimal evidence of SA. Robbery occurred at each crime scene, though the motive appeared more complex than mere monetary gain, given the small cash holdings in these specialty stores. The murders shared a common thread, the use of similar ammunition, suggesting a Tech-22 or similar firearm. The investigation briefly considered a link to Harry Greenwell, known as the I-65 killer, who also targeted women but for monetary reasons, and whose modus operandi included dismemberment. Despite physical similarities in composite sketches, Greenwell's age and differing motivations led authorities to dismiss him as a suspect. Today, the hunt for the I-70 killer continues, as law enforcement tirelessly seeks to bring closure to the victims' families and justice for the unsolved murders. Black holes are regions in space where gravity is so powerful that nothing, not even light, can escape. What happens if you enter a black hole, or what might be inside one? While we can't be certain about the contents of a black hole, scientists speculate that it contains extremely dense mass and energy, and beyond that, it's just empty space. Fofi is a cryptid described as a massive spider, measuring around 4 to 6 feet, resembling a tarantula. The first known sighting was recorded in the 1890s, near a lake in what is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. British missionaries exploring the area encountered an enormous web, and from it emerged 2 giant spiders, each about 4 feet long. Reportedly, one missionary was bitten and subsequently died. Local accounts suggest that these spiders were once abundant, but are now nearing extinction due to the encroachment of human civilization on their natural habitats. The Walker family case is an obscure mystery from December 19, 1959, in Osprey, Florida, involving Christine and Cliff Walker and their 2 children. Christine returned home around 4 p.m. and was subsequently raped and fatally shot. Shortly after, Cliff and their children, Jimmy and Debbie, arrived at their farm. The assailant ambushed Cliff, killing him, then shot 3-year-old Jimmy and placed 1-year-old Debbie in a bathtub before shooting her as well. When police arrived, they found a blood-stained cowboy boot, a cigarette wrapper, and a fingerprint on the bathtub faucet. Despite interviewing nearly 600 people, the police couldn't link anyone to the evidence or establish a motive. Serial killer EMT Monroe Spencer confessed but was dismissed by the sheriff as a pathological liar. In 2012, new leads suggested that convicted murderers Perry Smith and Richard Hickok might have been involved. They allegedly attempted to sell a stolen car to the Walkers, using this as a way to enter the home. Sarasota County investigators exhumed their bodies to compare DNA but found no match, though they noted potential degradation or contamination of the DNA over time. Many still consider Smith and Hickok the prime suspects. However, the nature of the items stolen led some to speculate that the murderer could have been someone close to the family, possibly a friend or relative. Jack the Ripper is arguably the most infamous serial killer in history, capturing widespread media attention due to the gruesome nature of his crimes and his unknown identity. His victims were mostly women working in the slums of London's East End. Each victim had their throat slashed before enduring severe mutilation of the abdomen and genitals. Investigators theorized that Jack had some anatomical or surgical expertise, as he removed internal organs from 3 of his victims. With numerous attacks on women during that period, it's difficult to determine how many were Jack's doing versus other perpetrators. Between April 1888 and February 1891, 11 murders became known as the Whitechapel murders. While not all are confirmed to be Jack's work, at least 5 are widely accepted as his, known as the Canonical Five: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. These victims shared the commonality of throat wounds and mutilated abdominal areas. Mary Jane Kelly's body was the most horrifically disfigured, found around 11 a.m. on her bed, her face unrecognizable, and her abdomen void of most organs. Her uterus, kidneys, and 1 breast were cut off and placed beneath her head. Over 2,000 people were interviewed, 300 investigated, and 80 detained in the hunt for Jack. Most suspects were butchers, surgeons, and physicians due to the nature of the killings. Patterns indicated that the murders typically occurred on weekends and holidays and were geographically close, suggesting Jack was a local working man. Conversely, some believe he was an upper-class individual who ventured into Whitechapel from a more affluent area. Jim Gray, a celebrated computer scientist from San Francisco, won the Turing Award in 1998. Initially aspiring to join the Air Force, Jim turned to the University of California in 1961 after being rejected by the Academy. Struggling with chemistry, he took a 6-month break from Berkeley before returning and graduating in 1966 with a degree in engineering mathematics. An experienced sailor, Jim embarked on a solo trip on January 28, 2007, to scatter his mother's ashes near San Francisco, but never returned. The weather was clear, and no distress signal was sent. Despite extensive searches by the Coast Guard using planes, helicopters, and boats, no trace of Jim was found after 4 days. At the time, Jim was a valued Microsoft employee, leading to the creation of the Jim Gray Group to analyze clues via digital globe satellite imagery. Tech giants like IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google contributed resources and funding to locate Jim, but their efforts proved unsuccessful. An underwater search with advanced equipment also yielded no results, ending on May 31, 2007. Speculation about Jim's fate includes several theories. One theory suggests Jim might have chosen to end his life, not out of depression, but feeling he had achieved all he wanted. Another theory posits that rogue waves could have capsized his yacht, resulting in his drowning. The most unusual theory, which gained some traction, emerged from a Reddit post 3 months after Jim was declared legally dead. A user with the handle Tom Gold account claimed to have cut off all contact, moved to Kenya, adopted a fake identity, and faked their death in a boating accident. While this could apply to many missing persons, there's no evidence linking it to Jim Gray specifically. Unfortunately, this theory remains unverifiable, as the post was made from a throwaway account a decade ago, leaving little to investigate further. Johnny Gosch, a young paperboy from Iowa, vanished at the age of 12 in 1982. Despite numerous investigations, his disappearance remains unsolved as of 2022. On September 5, 1982, Johnny set out before dawn to start his paper route. Usually, his father would accompany him, but that morning, he only took his dog. Other paper carriers saw him picking up his papers, marking the last time anyone saw Johnny. A few hours later, his parents, Noreen and John, began receiving complaints from customers about undelivered papers. John searched the neighborhood but found only Johnny's wagon. The police were contacted, but Noreen claimed their response was sluggish, taking nearly an hour to arrive. Initially, authorities suggested Johnny had run away, but they later classified it as a kidnapping. In a bizarre turn in 1997, Noreen reported that Johnny, now 27, knocked on her door at 2:30 a.m. with an unidentified man. They spoke for about an hour and a half, but Johnny did not disclose his whereabouts. While some critics believe this was a dream induced by Noreen's trauma, she insisted it was real. Johnny's case is particularly perplexing, as other children of similar age also went missing in the same area, leading investigators to suspect the involvement of pedophiles targeting young boys. JonBenet Ramsey was a child beauty queen who met a tragic end at the age of 6 in Boulder, Colorado. A handwritten ransom note found in the Ramsey home led her family to believe she was still alive, prompting them to call the police. Less than 8 hours after the police arrived, JonBenet's body was discovered in the basement. She had duct tape on her mouth, a cord around her neck, and a fractured skull, though asphyxiation was determined as the cause of death. The case drew massive media attention due to JonBenet's young age and her fame in beauty pageants. Despite remaining open, the case has gone cold. The crime scene was compromised before a thorough investigation could be conducted. The police did not initially search the Ramsey home, as the ransom note suggested JonBenet was not inside. DNA evidence on her clothing pointed to an unidentified male, but no match was found among over 1 million samples. There is no conclusive evidence pointing to a specific suspect, though some internet sleuths believe the ransom note was a deliberate distraction. Joseph Merrick, better known as the Elephant Man, was an Englishman who became famous for his severe deformities. Merrick first gained attention in London by appearing in a freak show and later lived at the London hospital after meeting Sir Frederick Treves. His abnormal growths began around the age of 5, and he faced further hardship when his mother died when he was 11. Rejected by his father and stepmother, Merrick went to live with his uncle, Charles. Charles arranged for Merrick to be exhibited by a showman named Sam Torr. Unfortunately, Merrick's time in the circus was short-lived, as he was robbed and abandoned by his manager. This turn of events led to his residence at the London hospital and a friendship with Treves. While at the hospital, Merrick was visited by wealthy individuals curious about his condition. He died in April 1890, officially due to asphyxiation, though Treves, who performed the autopsy, believed he died from a dislocated neck. The exact cause of Merrick's deformities remains unknown, though some experts suspect Proteus syndrome, a rare disorder causing tissue overgrowth. A 2003 study of Merrick's hair and bones was inconclusive due to the heavy bleaching of his skeleton. The Kaz II is a catamaran discovered drifting off the northeastern coast of Australia in 2007. The vessel had a crew of 3 relatively inexperienced sailors, Derek Batten, Peter Tunstead, and James Tunstead. They set sail from Airlie Beach on April 15, 2007, aiming to travel around northern Australia to Western Australia. A helicopter first spotted the Kaz II adrift with the crew possibly in distress. 2 days later, maritime authorities boarded the boat and found it seemingly normal, except for the missing crew. Food and silverware were set on the table, a laptop was on, and the engine was running. The emergency systems, including the radio and GPS, were functional, and all life jackets were present. The only unusual aspect was the torn sails. GPS data indicated the boat had been adrift since late afternoon on the day of departure. A video recovered from the trip showed one crew member fishing, a long white rope trailing behind the boat, the engine off, and choppy seas. Items' locations in the video differed from when authorities boarded. The state coroner's report could not definitively determine the cause of the crew's disappearance, but suggested the following scenario. On April 15, 2007, the Kaz II was near George Point, and one man's fishing lure got caught on the rudder. Another crew member fell overboard trying to free it. Derek Batten stayed on board while the second Tunstead brother jumped in to help. The seas were rough, making it almost impossible for the brothers to return to the boat. Derek started the motor but had to drop the sails. As he did, the boom swung and knocked him overboard. The boat quickly drifted out of reach. None of the men were strong swimmers, and the violent seas made their survival unlikely. Some internet sleuths challenged this scenario, finding it implausible. However, it's important to consider that panic and adrenaline can lead to poor decisions, especially at sea. Proper training would suggest throwing life crafts instead of diving in. Nevertheless, the true fate of the Kaz II's crew remains a mystery. Kenny Veach was a 47-year-old Las Vegas resident who went missing in the Mojave Desert in November 2014. An avid hiker, Kenny was well known within the hiking community on YouTube, frequently commenting on videos and sharing his own hiking experiences. One particular comment on a video titled "Son of an Area 51 Technician" captured significant attention. In it, Kenny described discovering a mysterious cave near the Nellis Air Force Base. He recounted how the cave's entrance was shaped like a perfect capital M, and how approaching it caused his body to vibrate intensely, prompting him to flee in fear. This intriguing comment sparked the curiosity of many viewers who urged Kenny to find and document the cave. Kenny accepted the challenge and embarked on a second expedition, this time armed with a 9mm handgun. Unfortunately, he failed to locate the cave, and the video he uploaded provided no new clues. Criticism from viewers led Kenny to attempt a third search in November 2014. Before his departure, a concerning comment was left on his video, warning him not to enter the cave if he found it, as he wouldn't come out. Kenny, who had been solo hiking for over 20 years in challenging terrains, did not return from this third expedition. His disappearance was unusual given his extensive experience and familiarity with the area. News stations picked up the story, and a search effort was launched. Kenny's cell phone was found, but no further clues emerged, leaving the trail cold. Speculation about Kenny's fate includes several theories. Some believe he may have fallen down a hidden shaft or died from dehydration. Others suggest he might have stumbled upon a secret military installation, potentially related to the nearby Area 51, which some enthusiasts link to extraterrestrial activities. Another theory posits that Kenny might have taken his own life, although his upbeat demeanor in videos and comments makes this less likely to those who followed him. Even Kenny's supposed girlfriend stated that she had no clear idea of what might have happened to him. The mystery surrounding Kenny Veach's disappearance remains unsolved, with his fate still unknown. On June 9, 1979, tragedy struck Luna Park when a devastating fire engulfed the ghost train ride, claiming the lives of 7 individuals. Initially attributed to electrical issues, suspicions of arson later arose. Jenny Godson, widow of one victim, stumbled upon a chilling photograph showing her late son Damon standing beside a mysterious figure in a demonic mask with horns. Dubbed by some as reminiscent of the ancient deity Moloch, associated with sacrificial rituals, the identity of this enigmatic figure remains elusive. Jenny, convinced of a sinister conspiracy behind the incident, continues to seek answers to the unresolved questions surrounding both the cause of the fire and the identity of the masked man. Mantis Man is a cryptid reportedly sighted near the Musconetcong River in New Jersey, standing an impressive 7 feet tall and resembling a praying mantis. The creature's name obviously comes from its mantis-like appearance. Some suggest it might be the result of a scientific experiment gone wrong or a mutation from a breeding situation. Others believe it could be an alien stranded in the woods. Despite the intriguing stories, the existence of Mantis Man remains highly questionable. Groupie is a controversial and partially lost adult short film created by Marilyn Manson in 1996. The film begins with Manson spending time with a male bandmate. Shortly thereafter, a groupie arrives, and Manson coerces her into increasingly perverse acts, such as drinking urine and being tied up and bloodied. Witnesses to the filming reportedly felt extremely uncomfortable, as they were unsure whether the actions were part of a scripted performance or genuine. Although the complete film has never been released, several short clips surfaced in Manson's video album, Dead to the World. These clips depict a woman tied to a chair while Manson remains off-screen. The Martin family living in Portland, Oregon, vanished on December 7, 1958, during a shopping trip near the Columbia River Gorge. The missing family members included Kenneth the father, Barbara the mother, and their 3 daughters, Barbie, Virginia, and Susan, aged 14, 13, and 11. They also had a son in the Navy stationed in New York at the time. A few months after their disappearance, Virginia and Susan's bodies were discovered downstream on the Columbia River's shores. Initially, police suspected the family's car had crashed into the river, but later dismissed this theory due to insufficient evidence. The whereabouts of Kenneth, Barbara, and Barbie remain a mystery, and their vehicle has never been found. Details of the family's movements during their shopping trip are limited. A gas station attendant recalled them purchasing 5 gallons of gas about 40 miles from their Portland home. They were also seen by a snack bar waitress 20 miles further east. The family was reported missing on December 9th after Kenneth didn't show up for work and the girls were absent from school. The cause of death for Susan and Virginia is unclear. A technician noted holes in the girls' heads resembling bullet wounds before the autopsies, but the medical examiner's report listed drowning as the cause of death. Additionally, Susan's t-shirt contained traces of metal, including aluminum, and the area where the police believe the car entered the river is near an aluminum smelting plant. One theory suggests Kenneth intentionally drove the car into the river. Another posits the family was abducted and forced off a cliff leading to the river. In 1961, an anonymous letter to the Oregon Journal described a vehicle resembling the Martins heading under railroad tracks toward the river, followed by screams. When the writer investigated, they found nothing. Meso Blues is the partially found prototype short that eventually evolved into the Johnny Bravo series on Cartoon Network. Initially, the concept featured 3 Elvis impersonators, but due to time constraints, creator Van Partible decided to focus on just one Elvis impersonator. This short was shown to some staff members at Hanna-Barbera Productions, who loved it and encouraged Partible to pitch it as a 7-minute cartoon. This pitch, along with the Meso Blues short, led to the creation of the Johnny Bravo character. Partible aimed to give Johnny Bravo a unique identity, not solely tied to Elvis Presley. As a result, Johnny's design incorporated elements of James Dean's appearance while maintaining an Elvis-like way of speaking. Many of you are probably familiar with the hugely popular game Minecraft, but you might not know about the various lost versions of the game. Minecraft's creator, Marcus Notch Persson, envisioned the game being available on a wide array of platforms. While it is well known for its presence on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, Minecraft was also playable on less common systems like Windows Phone, Raspberry Pi, Kindle Fire, Xperia Play, and more. These obscure versions often included unique gameplay features and bugs not found in the mainstream editions of the game. Unfortunately, these versions have mostly been lost over time, with only old YouTube videos and clips preserving their memory. However, there have been some notable recoveries. For example, version 1.1.1 was found by a Minecraft user, sparking the discovery of a few other lost versions by the community. Scientists are still uncertain about how the moon formed. The moon appeared 100 million years after the solar system's creation, raising questions about its origin since it wasn't formed by the same processes as the planets. A widely accepted hypothesis is the giant impact theory. This theory suggests that the moon resulted from a collision between Earth and a Mars-sized planet. The debris from this impact eventually coalesced in Earth's orbit, forming the moon. Mr. Cruel is the alias given to an Australian child attacker who assaulted at least 3 girls in the late 1980s and early 90s. Despite extensive investigations, Mr. Cruel has never been identified, and the cases remain unsolved. He always wore a mask during the assaults, leaving only a police sketch based on a victim's memory. Known for his intelligence and meticulous nature, he often left red herrings to mislead the victims' families and the police. Mr. Cruel is believed to have videotaped and photographed his victims during the attacks. Detectives suspect that if he is still alive, he may be involved in an underground child exploitation ring. Given today's advanced technology, it's feared that he might still be committing these heinous acts. A peculiar aspect of Mr. Cruel's behavior is that he released his victims. For instance, he abducted Sharon Wills and informed her she would be released in about 18 hours, which he did, even bathing her to eliminate any DNA evidence. Some theorists speculate that Mr. Cruel could be the Golden State Killer due to their similar methods and routines in abductions. Mystery booms are a worldwide phenomenon where people report hearing loud booms that rattle entire neighborhoods, like the Seneca Guns incident. These unexplained sounds often come out of nowhere, leaving scientists puzzled about their origins. Several theories attempt to explain these occurrences. Natural causes. Large waves and tsunamis crashing into cliffs can create substantial bangs. Earthquakes and even sand dunes shifting can also produce similar sounds. Man-made causes. Some believe these booms result from military jets breaking the sound barrier. Other possible man-made origins include gas explosions. Despite these theories, the exact cause of many mystery booms remains elusive, continuing to intrigue and baffle both the public and scientists. Phantom kangaroos. In the United States, numerous sightings of kangaroos have been reported, even in unexpected places like porches or deep woods. These reports, some as recent as 2018, describe kangaroos that are sometimes larger or appear armored. These sightings are linked to Procoptodon, an ancient kangaroo species, suggesting that these creatures might still exist in the wilds of the U.S. The Pink Morning cartoon remains a mystery from the late 1990s to early 2000s, with only fragments of its existence surfacing. A man was jogging on Putney Bridge in London and suddenly shoved a woman into the street. She was almost hit by a bus, which somehow managed to swerve and miss her in a split second without crashing into other vehicles. The CCTV footage didn't capture any clear details of the jogger, making it tough to identify him. The police investigated over 50 suspects and even arrested 3, but they were all released later. The jogger was described as a white man in his 30s, with brown eyes and short brown hair. One morning in March 2011, Rebecca Coriam, a crew member on the Disney Wonder cruise ship, vanished. She was last seen in the crew lounge, having a phone conversation that seemed to upset her. When Rebecca didn't show up for her shift, her co-workers grew concerned and couldn't find her anywhere on the ship. Despite several weeks of searching, Rebecca was never found. Her parents criticized Disney, accusing them of prioritizing their public image over cooperating with the investigation. In 2016, the Coriam family settled a lawsuit with Disney out of court. Just before the first anniversary of Rebecca's disappearance, her father received an email from a woman claiming to have seen Rebecca in Venice with a dark-haired man. This claim raised more questions. How could she have left the ship and reached Venice without her passport, which was found in her belongings? Investigators concluded that she likely fell overboard, possibly due to a rogue wave. Some crew members mentioned that her distressing phone call involved a troubled relationship, leading to theories that she might have been involved in a toxic love triangle and forcibly removed from the ship. In the summer of 1981, in France, Issei Sagawa, a Japanese student studying abroad, invited his classmate René Hartevelt over for dinner at his apartment. Renee had no idea that Issei was planning to kill and eat her. When she arrived and sat down, Issei shot her with a rifle. Then he used an electric knife to cut off about 7 kilos of her flesh. Over the following days, Issei cooked and ate parts of Renee's body and salted her corpse before trying to dispose of it. He messed up while getting rid of the body, and police found Renee's remains in a suitcase. When they searched Issei's apartment, they found a tape recorder with audio of the entire horrific event. These tapes are believed to be with the French police, and it's unlikely they'll ever be released. Scott Michael was a 9-year-old kid from St. Charles, Missouri, who vanished on June 8, 1988. He was last seen walking down a street around 4:30 p.m. Before he disappeared, people saw him playing in the woods. That afternoon, there was a big thunderstorm, so his family assumed he had gone to a friend's house. But when the storm passed and Scott was still missing, his parents started to worry. They called all his friends' parents to see if he was there, but when they found out he wasn't, they contacted the police. In the days that followed, police officers, students from the St. Charles Police Academy, and 40 volunteers searched the woods where Scott was last seen. They also looked along railroad tracks and in caves that Scott liked to explore, but they found nothing. Some people thought Scott might have drowned in a flash flood during the storm, but his parents and the authorities believed he had been kidnapped. In January 2007, investigators looked into Michael Devlin, who had kidnapped 15-year-old Sean Hornbeck and 13-year-old William Ownby. Both boys were found alive, and Devlin is now serving a life sentence. However, they couldn't link Devlin to Scott, and the task force assigned to Scott's case was dissolved later that year. The mystery of Seline Delgado Lopez started in Mexico and has given a lot of people nightmares. During the 1990s and 2000s, a Mexican TV channel had a segment where they showed pictures of missing people. In 2001, they reported on an 18-year-old woman named Seline Delgado. The low quality and uncanny nature of her image led many to speculate that it was AI generated and that Seline never existed. This was the only image of her ever shown, and we know almost nothing about her except her age and that she went missing in Mexico. Investigators tried to find any information about this mysterious girl but came up empty-handed, which only fueled the theory that Seline Delgado was a fabrication. This led to numerous videos and discussions online. The image often associated with Seline is actually a police sketch of Derek Todd Lee, the Baton Rouge serial killer. The uncanny resemblance between the two images made people speculate that the sketch of Derek was used as a template for Celine's image. This raises the question, why would a TV channel use a fake image? One theory is that the eerie image was meant to keep viewers, especially young ones, vigilant, while also drawing more attention to the segment and the real missing persons being featured. The TV channel's Twitter account would post cryptic videos early in the morning, one of which was captioned, Seline. This seemed to be the channel exploiting the curiosity around the Seline Delgado case for more views. The mystery deepened with a Facebook account named Seline Delgado Lopez. Many believed this account was the same Seline from the TV broadcast. The account appeared to be friends with everyone who viewed her profile, which was later revealed to be due to privacy settings that prevented people from adding her as a friend, creating the illusion that she was already friends with them. This woman clarified in a post that she had never gone missing and was not the person shown on TV. It seems likely that the Seline character was a marketing ploy by the TV station to drive traffic. However, there are still many who believe Seline is a real missing person. For anything to exist, there has to be material to make it. Before the material that formed our universe came into being, there had to be something else that gave rise to it. So what was around before the Big Bang, and what caused it? The first particles, protons and neutrons, appeared around a fraction of a second after the Big Bang. Before that, there wasn't any material as we know it. Experts suggest that if we go further back, we enter speculative physics. One idea is that very short-lived elementary particles were the building blocks for protons and neutrons. Even if it seems like empty space-time, there's actually a lot happening with energy fluctuations, which could spawn particles. This entry is about a piece of lost media from the children's show Sesame Street. Throughout its run, the show has tackled various life topics like death, birth, and marriage. In 1992, they decided to address divorce, which led to an episode where Mr. Snuffleupagus' parents get a divorce. The episode caused a lot of controversy during production, with mixed feelings from the crew. Executive producer Dulcie Singer even vetoed the episode, saying that kids wouldn't connect with the message. They tested the episode with a small group, and based on the results, decided to scrap it. The only known screenshot from the episode shows Snuffy's dad dropping off Alice at her mom's house. A shadow person is a dark entity that paranormal enthusiasts think is supernatural. Some urban legends say these entities appear in our world as shadows and are usually seen as evil. But there are also psychological explanations for seeing shadowy figures. One reason is sleep paralysis, which can make someone feel like a dark shape is looming over them while they lie frozen in bed. Also, when we're alone and emotional, our minds can play tricks, making us see shadows that aren't really there. William Shakespeare has captivated audiences worldwide with his stories. Even if you don't know much about the man himself, you've likely heard of his tales. However, one detail historians are uncertain about is his exact date of birth. Shakespeare was born in England in April 1564, but the specific date was never recorded. His birthday is most commonly celebrated on April 23rd, which is also the date of his death in 1616. Wrinkles the Clown is an unidentified performer from Florida known for terrorizing children. He gained widespread media attention in the mid-2010s after clips and images went semi-viral. Wrinkles is said to be a homeless man who offers his services for a few $100s to scare misbehaving children at the request of their parents. In 2015, a clip of Wrinkles emerging from under a girl's bed began circulating on YouTube. In Naples, Florida, stickers with a clown's face and a phone number were plastered on objects like doors and light posts. Wrinkles sparked much controversy, and in 2019, a documentary revealed that the clown's character was meant as performance art, but it did not disclose the identity of the man behind the mask. The title says it all. We don't have a widely agreed upon idea of the universe's fate, but there are theories about it either tearing itself apart or collapsing in on itself. Cosmologists note that galaxies are moving away from each other over time, suggesting the universe was once incredibly dense. If it expands indefinitely, we might face a scenario called the Big Freeze, where the universe approaches absolute zero temperature. Stars will eventually run out of fuel, leading some to believe that the universe could go completely dark. Tank Man is the nickname given to an unidentified Chinese man who stood in front of a line of Type 59 tanks in 1989 after they had been used to break up protests. The lead tank tried to maneuver around him, but he kept moving to block its path. The whole thing was caught on film, and it's pretty amazing to watch. This guy even climbed on top of the tank at one point. The image of him standing there has become one of the most famous in the world, although it's heavily censored in some places. We still don't know who he was or what happened to him afterward. A British tabloid once claimed he was a 19-year-old student charged with political hooliganism, but Chinese documents later rejected that. He wasn't the only person to stand in front of the tanks, but this particular incident is famous because it was recorded. Shauna Maynard's tragic story unfolded in Las Vegas, Nevada, where her lifeless body was discovered on April 21, 1998. Estimated to be around 17 years old at the time of her death, Shauna had been kidnapped and fatally shot. Her remains left near Blue Diamond Road and Decatur Boulevard. The case remained cold until 2015, when an anonymous user on an internet forum claimed responsibility for several killings, including Shauna's. This user posted chilling details and photos, offering to reveal locations of other victims' bodies in exchange for correctly guessing their names. Shockingly, when Shauna Maynard's name was guessed correctly, gruesome photos of her before and after death were posted. The authenticity of these claims sparked a mix of concern and skepticism online, with some believing it to be a hoax or a macabre form of trolling. Despite efforts by internet users to alert authorities in Las Vegas, little progress was made in identifying or apprehending the anonymous poster. Shauna's mysterious life and the circumstances surrounding her death remain unresolved, leaving many questions unanswered about her final days and the person responsible for her tragic fate. The Butcher is a mysterious, reported live-action puppet film from the early 2000s that gained attention through a post on the /TipOfMyTongue subreddit. A user named DeadUser00 claimed to have searched through archives for a production code of the film, but found no evidence of its existence. The film supposedly aired between 2001 and 2004 on Nickelodeon, featuring sinister themes unusual for the channel at that time. It was shot entirely in black and white, with puppets allegedly made from actual animal bones, including cats, dogs, birds, and rabbits. Descriptions included scenes of human hands wielding a butcher's knife and disturbing imagery of animal puppets merging into grotesque forms. Speculation arose about whether the film was a hoax, false memory, or misidentification with another production. The Zodiac Killer remains one of the most infamous unsolved mysteries in American history. Active in the late 1960s, the killer claimed responsibility for 5 known murders in the San Francisco area and taunted police with cryptic letters boasting of additional victims. These letters often included ciphers that were puzzles in themselves, challenging authorities and the public alike. One letter even suggested the killer's desire to collect slaves in the afterlife. Despite numerous suspects, including Arthur Lee Allen, no one has been definitively identified as the Zodiac Killer. Allen, who was discharged from the Navy and had allegations of misconduct, was considered a prime suspect but never charged due to lack of evidence. In 2020, one of the Zodiac's ciphers was finally solved, offering some insight but no breakthrough in identifying the killer's true identity. The concept of multiple universes, or the multiverse, has been a subject of debate and fascination for years. This idea posits the existence of universes similar to ours but differing in minor historical events, to entirely alien worlds devoid of humans. The topic, often explored in mainstream media, remains theoretical due to the inability to test or observe these alternate dimensions with current technology. Scientists and theorists continue to explore this concept, though its definitive proof remains elusive. Tasmanian tigers, or thylacines, were carnivorous marsupials that were declared extinct after the last known individual died in captivity in 1936 at an Australian zoo. Despite this extinction declaration, there have been over 7,000 reported sightings of Tasmanian tigers in recent years, predominantly in Australia and its surrounding regions. Zoologists and enthusiasts are actively involved in searching for these creatures, in hopes of finding specimens to test their DNA and compare it to that of preserved Tasmanian tiger specimens. This ongoing effort aims to verify any potential surviving populations or confirm the true extinction of the species. The YouTube channel Unfavorable Semicircle emerged in March 2015, and from April 5th of that year, it began uploading a large volume of videos featuring the Sagittarius symbol or combinations of numbers in their titles. Over time, the titles evolved to single-word descriptors. Today, exploring the channel reveals a collection of bizarre videos showcasing abstract shapes and distorted music, which have puzzled internet sleuths trying to decipher their meaning. Various theories have emerged about the channel's purpose, ranging from it being an alternate reality game or an art project expressing a troubled psyche. Alan Woodward, a British computer scientist at the University of Surrey, dismissed the possibility of it being a number station due to the complexity of the videos and noted the absence of clear indications typical of recruitment campaigns. The true nature and intent of the Unfavorable Semicircle channel remain elusive, adding to its mystique and intrigue online. The entry highlights a mysterious industry that has become the largest buyer of glitter, a revelation hinted at by a manager from Glitter X, the world's largest glitter manufacturer. According to a New York Times article from 2018, when asked about their biggest market, the manager cryptically responded that nobody would guess who it was and that she couldn't disclose the client's identity. Moreover, she mentioned that the client prefers to keep their use of glitter in their products secret, despite it being detectable if closely examined. Speculations abound regarding the identity of this secretive client. Some theories suggest industries like microtangents, used in explosives, processed foods, toothpaste, and even the medical field could be potential buyers. However, the exact identity remains elusive. The Charlie Project hosts profiles of over 15,000 cold cases from the United States. It's important to note that the project serves as a public database rather than an investigative body. It aims to highlight missing persons who have been overlooked by mainstream media or whose cases have faded from public memory too quickly. The project derives its name from Charles Brewster Ross, a 4-year-old abducted from his Pennsylvania home in July 1874. Although not the first kidnapping in the U.S., Charles Ross's case gained significant international attention. Despite relentless efforts by his family, he was never found. Today, few remember this case, underscoring the project's mission to illuminate forgotten missing persons. Operated by a single individual, the Charlie Project only includes cases active for a year or more. Star jelly is a gelatinous substance noted for its translucent appearance, often found on grass or tree branches. It's purportedly associated with meteor showers, though a more plausible explanation attributes it to the decomposition remains of frogs, toads, or worms. An intriguing account dates back to 1950, when 4 Philadelphia policemen reported encountering a disc-shaped jelly substance measuring about 6 feet in diameter and 1 inch thick. Upon handling it, the jelly dissolved into an odorless, sticky scum, adding to the mysterious nature surrounding star jelly. The man of the hole was an indigenous person who lived alone in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. He is believed to have been the sole inhabitant of a protected indigenous territory demarcated by the Brazilian government in 2007. His story is a tragic one. His people were victims of a genocide by Brazilian settlers in the past. After this devastating event, he chose to live in isolation until his death in 2022. Interestingly, in each of his former homes, he left behind deep holes with unknown purposes. This peculiar habit earned him the nickname Man of the Hole, adding an enigmatic element to his already poignant tale. The Falling Man is a photograph taken by Associated Press photographer Richard Drew of a man falling from the World Trade Center during the September 11 attacks in New York City. The identity of the subject of the photograph has never been officially confirmed. The Villisca Axe Murders, an unsolved true crime from 1912 in Villisca, Iowa, involved the brutal killing of 8 people, including 6 members of the Moore family and 2 young guests. This tragic event has led to the house being considered haunted, attracting tourists and ghost hunters who report strange noises, disembodied voices, and orbs. In November 2014, an incident occurred when Robert Stephen Lawson Jr., investigating the house, claimed to be stabbed by an unknown force, adding another layer to the house's haunted reputation. In 2006, the renowned Australian wildlife expert Steve Irwin, famously known as the Crocodile Hunter, tragically lost his life to a stingray attack while filming a documentary in the Great Barrier Reef. It is widely believed that the attack, its aftermath, and the moments leading to Steve's death were all captured on camera. Steve had a strict rule for his cameraman to keep recording at all times, even in dangerous situations, as he felt genuine encounters with wildlife added authenticity to his documentaries. During a swim above a stingray, the animal struck Steve multiple times in the chest, fatally puncturing his heart. His crew quickly pulled him from the water and rushed him back to shore aboard their 75-foot yacht. On board, his colleague Justin Lyons performed CPR, while another crew member recorded the unfolding events. Despite their efforts, Steve Irwin was pronounced dead by paramedics upon reaching a medical facility. According to Justin Lyons, Steve's last words were reportedly, "I'm dying." Following Steve's death, the recorded footage was handed over to Queensland authorities, who then gave it to Irwin's family. The family's handling of the footage remains somewhat unclear, but reports suggest they may have chosen to destroy it over time. Despite various claims and alleged leaks of video snippets and screenshots online, none have been authenticated as genuine footage from the incident.